to the BattleZone pregame show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm super excited to be here. I am Juliana Ramos-Ortiz, here with...
And Boots.
We're going to be talking a little bit super exciting stuff that we saw today. We have some insane athletes and some better performers. They're just a show, and you guys are going to get to see that spectacle tonight. I'm super excited because we have the best of the best racing this stage. And we have some that rounded up today in forms. This Haley bulletproof glass, without doubt, undisputed champion, took home those forms divisions and will not have to compete for it on the BattleZone stage, along with Team Paul Mitchell's Esteban Tremblay, which, with reason, no doubt, another phenomenal forms performer, and he also rounded it up, won brands in all those divisions, so he will not have to compete for that on the stage either. How exciting is that, being coach from Team Paul Mitchell, and seeing that today? How do we feel?
Well, of course, we're super proud of both Haley and Esteban. They're incredible martial arts athletes, and their ability to dominate those divisions was put on display this weekend. Esteban Tremblay, in addition to winning all of those forms divisions, he also made a bit of sport karate history by joining what we call the Dub Club. As in his extreme forms division, he executed a double pull, swing through into a double cork, and if you don't know what that is, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because you're going to see tricks just like that in the show tonight. And Esteban Tremblay landed that in the eliminations. We actually had other athletes going for big moves this weekend as well. I got to give a shout out to Jonah Michel of Team AKA, who went for the same move, went for the dub-dub. Unfortunately, aggravated a knee injury that he suffered back at the AKA Warrior Cup, so we're wishing him a very speedy recovery. But huge moves coming out from both of those guys. And Esteban, you'll see tonight, the weapons final, which we'll get to in a little bit.
How exciting.
You know, Julie and Jackson, you think about, speaking from the fighter's perspective, when we would get ready and we would actually wait and see you guys go up and perform, it gets us hyped, especially as teammates. We're there in the back, we're warming up, we're wrapping our hands, you know, we're doing some shadow squat and everything, but we would always take the time to go to the stage to see one of your teammates. Going back in the day, I'll mention a guy, Jeff Doss. Looking at Jeff Doss as he got ready, get things ready, it would get me pumped up and ready for my fighting division. So it's you guys that would really help us get things going for a time like BattleZone.
And speaking of the legendary Jeff Doss, he will be gracing the stage against Mason Stoll. Now, Jeff Doss is one of my favorites to watch ever since I was a little itty bitty for Korean forms. His kicks were the inspiration for my kicks, that stick and hold, beautiful technique, and then now going against the beautiful traditional Mason Stoll that is traveling the world with this Japanese form that is just a spectacle to see, and his strength, his ability, his timing, his punctuality to land his hands, feet, stances all at the same time is a beauty to watch. So we're going to see Jeff Doss and Mason Stoll. It's going to be fantastic. How do you guys feel about that coming up?
Well, it's always a compelling matchup between the Japanese stylist and the Korean stylist. And as we've watched over the years, it tends to be the Japanese stylists that have been dominant. But I've said on many broadcasts before, if there is to be any individual Korean martial artist who can overcome the Japanese stylists, it is Jeff Sushi Doss. With his accolades in this game, as long as he's been doing this, he is in the conversation for the greatest competitive Korean martial artist of all time. And so if somebody has a chance to do it, it's Jeff Doss, but he's got a tall task against Mason Stowell, who was dominant this weekend and truly has been dominant at the Battle of Atlanta for the last several years. He's won the Ultimate title, competing against all the other overall grand champions. He's a force to be reckoned with, and he's going to be very difficult to beat.
Well, this great thing about this is to see Mason as he came up through the juniors and everything. And by the way, it's been probably about a year since I've seen him in person. This guy just keeps getting bigger. He's stronger now. He's grown into that grown man's body. And the great thing about that is that you have that kind of contrast. Jeff Dawson is who he is. He's super flexible. He's got the tricky kicks and everything going on. But yet, as you mentioned, there is a tall hill to climb, but I think it's been a great competition between those two.
And speaking of a fantastic competition, we are going to see two lovely ladies take the stage with, again, a Jap versus Korean traditional form, which is honestly my favorite thing to watch. We've got Gabrielle Rudolph and Miss Lily McGuire. This is her hometown, so she's got this extra energy for her Korean form coming at her, but she's got the support, or Gabrielle has the support of her lovely teammates all here and her wonderful husband, so that's gonna be something to watch. Let's talk a little bit more about how and what we're expecting there.
Well, I'll speak for Gabrielle a little bit because I need to state my bias as her husband, but I hope she has a great performance tonight. It's going to be an awesome division up against Lily McGuire. We're going to talk about some more amazing matchups coming up right after the break.
Who's next?
There's always someone.
The one they call talented, gifted,
But talent isn't enough.
and it's never a gift.
The early risers,
The weekend warrior,
they're the first one in,
and they're the last one out.
the one that faces a challenge because they see opportunity.
Because they know the truth.
If you want it,
You have to take it.
so who's next?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BattleZone Countdown. We are now just moments away from the prestigious BattleZone Finals, where elite martial arts athletes are going to compete for some of the most coveted titles in this entire sport. And in that word from our sponsors and friends over at Century Martial Arts, you saw a few athletes that are going to be competing for some of my favorite titles in the weapons division. In that commercial, you saw Jake Presley, who has been absolutely dominant as a traditional bow competitor, but he has a tough test tonight against Dawson Holt, who has been very dominant over the bladed side of the traditional weapons category. So that is going to be an absolute slugfest between Jake Presley and Dawson Holt, both coming out of the same school, Premier Martial Arts Lebanon, and members of Team Paul Mitchell. On the ladies' side, in that advertisement, you saw Haley Glass, who can do it all. She does the CMX with her commas and the traditional with her sword, a multi-talented athlete that could stack up multiple overall grand championships tonight. She's going to have some tough tests against the likes of competitors like Sarah Campbell of Team AKA, who brings a very difficult bow form to the mix. And the division that I may be most excited about, of course, it's between two bow guys, Ben Jones and Esteban Tremblay in the men's creative musical extreme weapons final is guaranteed to bring us some fireworks. Let's start with that one. Juliana, what are you most excited about in that matchup between two of the best bow competitors in the world?
Well, as a traditionalist, I'm excited to see strikes. No matter what division it is, whether it's extreme or creative or traditional, I'd love to see full extension and strikes. I know that's something that you, Jackson, are also very passionate about, that between all the other fancy flares, twists, and turns, there are still that martial arts technique, because that's what we are. We are martial artists, and we are going to exercise our discipline, even mixed it with creativity and innovative movement. How about you, Mallory?
Now, again, you don't want to see me working a bow here. I'm telling you honestly. But one of the things you can appreciate is the precision that these athletes do. Some of the things that I've seen that have gone on in that division, I didn't even think was possible with the bow. I mean, you're quite the originator for some of the stuff that we are seeing today. But I also want to turn it a little bit. I want to focus on Haley just for a second. I mean, is there anything she can't do? She graduated college. She's out there performing on the cruise ships. She's looking to get into stunts in the future. And by the way, watch out Hollywood for her coming along. I mean, she does everything at such a high level. How do you even prepare for that when you go up against someone and that's your teammate?
Well, strategizing against Haley Glass is a really tough task because of how good she is and how many different angles she can come at you with her own strategy, whether she's got commas in her hands or a sword. Haley is, like I said, a multi-talented athlete who can do it all, like you said, Mallory. And so she's going to put on a show for us tonight, and for any athlete, that's going to be a tough competitor to prepare for. But I think one thing that Juliana hit on that I really want to foot stomp here for the audience watching from home is that those foundational martial arts techniques are the primary scoring criteria for the judges. You're going to see some amazing tricks tonight, but flash is trash without the basics. If these athletes did not have excellent traditional martial arts technique, they wouldn't be able to qualify to compete on this stage. So as you're watching all the crazy tricks, try to appreciate some of those foundational skills, the stances, the strikes, the power, the intensity, and then a little bit of showmanship sprinkled on top. And speaking of those basics, there's no better display of the basics than the traditional weapons division, where we've got that Jake Presley and Dawson Holt showdown. Juliana, I know that you were a sword competitor, so what are you looking forward to from Dawson Holt in that matchup?
Oh my goodness, I am such a Dawson Holt fan. I was kind of phasing out as he was really taken over for sword, but I remember just being mesmerized. Every time I could get a chance to watch him, he was a source of inspiration for me. So I'm excited to see how he's innovated within that traditional sword form, because you still are going to see some beautiful, long, lengthy slices with beautiful point A to point B direct cuts, but you're gonna see showmanship, just like you said. So I'm really excited to see how he innovates traditional.
And his competitor this evening, of course, is Jake Presley, who virtually every time he steps on the mat has been winning these traditional weapons overall grand championships, and he's got the stats to back it up. A 7-time Warrior Cup champion. That is the second most all-time, behind none other than Ross Levine, who we just saw with an amazing career-ending knockout at Karate Combat. And if you're second on a list with Ross Levine on it, that must mean that you're pretty good, right, Mallory?
It's definitely a good list to be on. And, you know, thinking about Jake Presley, you got the last name Presley. We've seen the excellence to come on with, you know, his brothers and his sister before. But Dawson Holt's Mr. Clean. I mean, I'll tell you who I don't want to be. I don't want to be any of the judges who have to decide between these two gentlemen right there, because that's going to be the hardest task in the room, to decide for the excellence that you'll see in that division that will come up. I don't know how you pick a winner.
Well, I'm not going to pick a winner because I like them both, but another very interesting set of divisions that we have to look forward to while we're talking about the weapons category is we're also going to see some synchronized weapons performances this evening. Team Showtime, the sibling duo of Cody and Michael Molina, they were the winners of the traditional synchronized weapons division, and they will be competing against a couple of Forms athletes in Gabriel Rudolph and Samuel Diaz III of Team Paul Mitchell in the traditional synchronized grand championship. Meanwhile, Ben Jones and Esteban Tremblay, who we already talked about, are going to compete against each other for the CMX weapons title. They team up and do synchronized together. They already won that division, and they will be not competing against anybody tonight, because on the other side was Ben Jones and Dawson Holt winning the Forms division. And when you got one guy that plays for both teams, they're just going to go up there and give us a demonstration.
That is so exciting when you've rounded it up with your best friends and you get the chance to go out on that stage, do what you love with a little less pressure. You just get to do a demo and show off, have fun. It's such a beautiful experience, and I'm so excited for those boys, because not only are they hardworking, respectful, and very disciplined, they've been at this consistently for so long. They've earned it. Of anybody, they've earned it.
Absolutely. And for anybody that's just tuning into this stream for the first time, you've never seen sport martial arts before in your life. So you're like, who are these people that you guys are talking about? They sound pretty good. You should start by picking what your favorite weapon is. Think about your favorite action movies. The sword, the kamas, those little sickle things, as the layman might call them. The nunchucks, as made famous by Bruce Lee, or I would say made famous by Matt Emig, but I'm a sport karate guy. Or my weapon of choice, the bow. And even we've seen innovations of that. We've seen people doing commas and chucks together. We've seen people doing double bow. There might be a double bow demonstration in store for this evening from one of the innovators of that weapon. And I just hear a what in the background from Reed Presley, who is our public address announcer, and might put on just a little show for us. So if you've never heard of these athletes before, pick your favorite weapon. And if you don't know what the weapons are, pick your favorite Ninja Turtle. If you like sword, you're gonna like Leonardo. If you're a bow guy like me, you're gonna like Donatello. Mallory and Julia, do you guys have any favorite Ninja Turtles?
Hey, you got to go with Ralph. Ralph with the size. He's got the attitude. You know, that's what you got to go with.
I'm a Leonardo girl all day, every day. I think we just addressed my love, my affinity to the sword. So yeah, I'm gonna say Leonardo all day, every day.
And those are respectable choices, even though Donatello is obviously the best of the Ninja Turtles. But that's a great segue to talk about how within the sport karate community, one of the best avenues for these athletes to go on to after they're done competing is the Hollywood stunts industry. And in recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films, including Marvel, DC Comics, and all of these other franchises as well, you've seen past sport karate champions in those roles. And with that, we're gonna toss it to a word from our sponsors, but you stay right there because we've got more exciting sport karate action coming right up.
Welcome back to BattleZone 2024. Of course, we've talked about weapons, we've talked about sparring, we've talked about weapons and forms. Now it's time to talk about fighting. We've got an incredible lineup of fights ready here for the Battle of Atlanta. Of course, we've got the team matchup between Team Paul Mitchell versus Straight Up. Jackson, I've got a question directly for you. Bailey Murphy is not here for Team Straight Up. How do you feel that big hole to take on? How do you feel that role?
Well, anytime that you're missing one of the top fighters in the world in Bailey Murphy, you're gonna have to go through some strategic adjustments. But we always know that Joe Greenhall is gonna have a trick up his sleeve. And this weekend, it was recruiting Tyson Ray to join Brandon Ballou and Diego Gomez to make up a killer Straight Up team. But they've got a tall task in front of them going up against my very own Team Paul Mitchell, Cameron Ali, Darren X, Alex Mancias. And it should be noted, if we're gonna talk about Straight Up not having Bailey Murphy, Paul Mitchell doesn't have Devin Hopper, who's a huge part of our team as well. But I believe that our three boys who are here can hold it down.
That is true. And you know, speaking of this, Juliana, your husband used to fight for Team John Paul Mitchell. Were you ever nervous on the sidelines when he went to go into the ring?
That was some of the most anxiety-inducing moments of my life, especially when we would travel around the world with Team Paul Mitchell. You go to these other countries and you don't know what you're getting into. So when Justin Ortiz, my husband, is on stage fighting, I can't tell you the shivers. I am shaking on the side of the stage, banging on it. I'm the loudest person in the room, but I love being there for him. So it's anxiety-inducing, but it's a beautiful experience.
Now, of course, you mentioned before Darren X, who takes on a very game Avery Plowden in the heavyweight division for the fights that will be coming later on. I got a chance to catch some of the finals between Cameron Ali and Avery Plowden, the Matt Murdock, the attorney at law, of course, and it was a close match. It came down to the last point. Jackson, of course, you're familiar. You like, you know, you're rooting for the JPM guy. We're going to be honest, but you've got a well and game super fighter on the other end of the bracket in Avery. How do you see that fight going down?
Well, Avery Plowden, excuse me. Avery Presley's phenomenal too, but we're talking about Avery Plowden right now. Avery Plowden is undeniably one of the best fighters in the world. He's proven it time and time again. And I don't just say one of the best heavyweights. I say one of the best fighters, period. And that's what he's proven over the course of his career. Multiple titles here at the Battle of Atlanta, the AKA Warrior Cup, you name the tournament. As far as the North American Sport Karate Association goes, Avery Plowden has been there and done that. And so he's going to be a threat against a guy like Darren X. But Darren X, I love watching this guy's fighting style. He's got a great old school smoothness to him in the way that he fights. His ridge hand is lethal. He's got a great defensive side kick, and I'm really excited to see Darren X put his skills to the test against a fighter like Avery Plowden.
Now, I love watching these boys fight because they have so much experience, both of them. I know Darren is younger, but Avery's experience comes through time and time again. We've seen him fight against just about anybody in the game, and he adjusts, he adapts. And Darren, he's showing to do the same. He's gotten enough experience with enough fighters that he's adapting. When he gets in front of somebody, he moves and he grooves according to who's in front of him. It's a great matchup. I'm excited.
And that's what they say about great fighters, Mallory. The best fighters make the best adjustments, right?
You're absolutely right. You have a limited time, if you think about it. You have 2 minutes or the max points available to figure out the puzzle that's in front of you. And speaking of that, both Tyson Ray and Enrique Latona have puzzles of their own to figure out for our lightweight championship. These two young men have faced each other all through their junior careers, and they've seen each other in their adult careers. It's going to be a highlight show of lightweight. So if you like fast action, great moves, great counters, watch out for those lethal kicks for Enrique. But watch out for the incredible movement that Tyson Ray inherited from his father, Jesse Ray. There are angles there that you couldn't chart out if you were a geometric genius. What do you say to that, Tyson?
Well, I mean, the matchup between Enrique Latona and Tyson Ray is absolutely electric. This is an undeniable matchup between two superstars. Enrique Latona was on my podcast just this morning, and I asked him, Enrique, what's it going to take for you to win the lightweight overall today? His answer, I'm going to win. He didn't go into any details about what it's going to take. He said, I know I'm going to win. There was no doubt in his mind that he was going to come into this tournament, make his way through the lightweights, and come out El Rey, his nickname. He wants to be on top. He wants to be the king of the lightweights.
Well, of course, we've been talking about the men, but Jackson, help me out. Let's set the table for the ladies that we'll see tonight.
Well, the ladies' event is going to be fantastic. We've got to check our records once we get back to the booth and make sure we've got all of our matchups right. But I know on the Paul Mitchell side, Katarina Herman, Kitana Everett were tearing their way through the divisions. I believe that is the matchup that we're going to get in the finals. We will confirm that once we're in the booth. But those two ladies, very, very different fighting styles, both very exciting. Katarina Herman, an expert kicker. Kitana Everett, an expert at movement. And when you put those two things together, it makes for a very compelling matchup.
And not only that, but these two ladies are such hard workers. They will go through a full day of work and whatever else they got to do, and you will see them working, even if it's at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, working their movement, working their kicks, and they're just both electric. Now, for the people at home that have not seen much point fighting, what you are going to see is very high energy, skilled fighting. So with these ladies, I want you guys to look for that movement that opens them up to come in and score either with hands, or for Katarina, she's going to be looking for any open spot where she can stick her leg and get a 2 points.
You know, one of the things that we heard from Katarina last night is that she says she has a notebook that she brings with her. That's the first time I've actually ever heard someone say that, but someone that takes notes and logs not only the wins but the losses is definitely someone that's going to be a formidable opponent at the other end of the ring, because these wins and losses fade as you leave, as you go back home and you get your daily routine. But if she's checking notes and going back and looking every time, trying to correct those mistakes, that's just going to make her better and better. But on the other side of that, and of course, we have to check our records. If we're talking about Kitana, we're talking about someone who is the queen of movement.
Absolutely. Kitana is an absolute expert of movement. And I think it's important for those of you that are tuning into Sport Karate for the very first time, as I hope we have a whole bunch of those tuning in on the stream tonight. If you are brand new to the sport martial arts community, make sure you drop some comments and hit that share button. Let everybody know about this new sport that you've discovered. But one thing that's really important to understand when you see these point fighters on stage is exactly what you're looking at. Point fighting is a game of speed and technique. It is all about whichever fighter can land a clean technique first. The scoring is 1 point for hand techniques, 2 points for kicking techniques, unless that kicking technique is a jump spinning kick to the head, which Mallory and Juliana, I really hope we see a 3-point jump spinning kick to the head tonight, or even a couple of them.
And you know what? If there is going to be a jump spin kick landed to the head, it would be here on the stage at the BattleZone, because we are at the hot and ready Battle of Atlanta 2024. Now, I can hear the crowd buzzing behind us. You can feel the energy in the room. Listen to them cheer. Listen to them go. I don't even need to share my mic with them because they are having so much fun back there. You hear them, and the energy is contagious. Are you guys feeling it?
Yes, indeed. And you feel the energy building in the room. The Battle Arena always brings that excitement for the tight show.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the premier events in the entire world for sport martial arts, whether it's forms, weapons, fighting. These are some of the best doing it in the world today. And so if you're tuning in right now, you better stay right here and keep watching this stream, because the variety of talent that you will see in the show tonight is absolutely amazing.
What you're about to see is some of the most spectacular culmination of years and years of dedication, hard work, and now we are going to see who brings home the success at home. If you are on your computer or on your phone, drop comments, show us your excitement, because the crowd is about to show you one more time how excited they are. Crowd, give it to them at home. Because we're not only going to see some really awesome competition, but we're going to see some great showcasing, some awesome fun teasers, interviews, and even some really funny video packages that we've got prepared for you guys. Stick around. You guys don't want to miss this. And if you're in the crowd, we've got some goodies coming.
Well, the time for talk is over. It's time to throw it to the stage for the Battle of Atlanta 2024.